Call the regular meeting of the Pennington County Commission to order. Just like to point out that we do use speaker request forms that are at the back of the room. If you would like to be heard on an issue, please fill that form out and return it to Holly Hennings at the right side of the dais. I'll ask Commissioner LaCroix to lead us in a moment of silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner LaCroix.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroix. Next item is to review and approve the agenda.
So moved.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Hadcock and a second by Commissioner LaCroix. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is our consent calendar. Holly Hennings, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of January 5th, 2021, approval of the first quarter 2021 local emergency management planning grant. Number 7 is approval of the local emergency planning grant special project awards sub-recipient agreement. Number 8 is approval of the 2021 memorandum of understanding between SDSU Extension and Pennington County. Number 9 is to declare 38 radios as surplus for the purpose of destruction and disposal, as submitted by the fire administrator. Number 10 is to declare 7 radios as surplus for the purpose of donation to the Wall Volunteer Fire Department, also as submitted by the fire administration. And finally, number 11 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of December 2020.
Are there any members of the public that wish to have any of these items removed from the consent calendar? Any commissioners that wish to have any items removed from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'd take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Laster, a second by Commissioner LaCroix. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Regular agenda items. Call on Ron Jeffries, General Manager, Central States Fair, come forward.
Thank you. Appreciate the time here. Ron Jeffers, General Manager, Central States Fair, and John Kaiser, our Director of Operations, also with me here this morning. I wanted to start with just an update on recent events at the Fairgrounds, and I'll let John take that part.
John Kaiser, Central States Fair. Kind of a exciting lead up to the stock show. With all the wind and stuff, we lost about 3/4 of the roof of one of our horse barns. So we were working on that. We did get all of the scrap metal collected and picked up and put in dumpsters and stuff like that. But barn 4 lost, like I said, about 3/4 of its roof. Barn 3 lost a door. There was just kind of stuff all over the fairgrounds. But we did get it cleaned up. So, hopefully after the stock show, we've had quite a few contractors reach out to Ron or myself over the past week, just looking to see when we'd be moving on that. And I've been in contact with a number of people here from the county, whether it was Mike Cool and Buildings and Grounds and all that stuff. And so we've got a tentative plan in motion, but probably won't execute too much until after the stock show as far as that goes. But we did have photos, and I did fill out an insurance form and stuff like that, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of. But other than that, the building itself the event center is going pretty well. We kicked off the stock show, my stock show, early stuff on this last Saturday. Started with 2 days of ranch sorting. Right now we're in 3 days of cutting, and then we go into 8 days of horse show stuff before we kick off the actual stock show. So And then other than that, for 2021, the new addition of that other barn, which good timing with the barn 4 roof blowing off. Barn 9's been doing really well, and it's gotten us a few new events. And so in 2021, there's one weekend available for rent for the event center. And that's, well, actually there's two, but one of them's Christmas Day. So there's two weekends available in 2021, with one of them being Christmas. So it was a good addition, and we're looking forward to a good year.
So John is the only building that's out of service right now, number 4 then?
Yeah, we won't use barn 3. The barn door itself was pretty old, and Ron could probably tell you. I'm not sure when those barns were built, maybe after the flood, but barn 3's doors were pretty beat up, so we don't really have that one being utilized right now. But if we start getting into it, by the time we get the horse show stuff, I mean, just to put it in perspective, I mean, barn 8 is 111 stalls, and there's 4 people that have rented that entire barn just from trainers. They're just, so I mean, if they start rolling in like that, you know, where guys are coming in with 15 to 20 horses each, we'll have to figure out something for barn 3 pretty quick. But we have a good contingency plan in place. But at this point, 4 is about the only one that we cannot use unless you want to open air stalling.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ron?
So 2 quick notes. First off, that the audit was completed, and by Cato Thorstensen, I'll just report to you briefly that we did get a clean report on our audit. And for those of you that served last year, almost identical comments. So feel very good about that. The second, and we'll bring that to you once it's approved by the board. The second item is that we were a recipient of some of the PPL money that did allow us to get to, I mean, it was a nice piece of support to get, but it was what it took to get us to even. So it was good, but it got us to break even. So we're very happy. We're very happy to be at break even with that support going into the 2021 season as well. Stock show related. So as John mentioned, things kicked off last Saturday at the Fairgrounds, which what happens is we've got so much demand for horse events that we can't fit them all in during the stock show. So they do a program similar to what the National Western Endeavor used to do, and that's that they have a pre-stock show run of events. In our case, they're all horse related. They started on the 15th. They'll end on the 28th. And the 29th is official kickoff for the Black Hills Stock Show. So solid rental with people in Rapid City, staying in hotel rooms, eating in restaurants, and buying their fuel and supplies here in Rapid City. So that's a great way to start our first 2 weeks going into Stock Show. All indicators are that Stock Show is going to be a good stock show. I mean, our cattle inquiries, our horse sale inquiries, our youth event inquiries are all up. And as you know, a number of different shows are not being held this year. And so there's been quite a bit of demand from as far away as Texas for youth show coming to Rapid City from Texas to show cattle or goats or sheep. We did cattle for the first time. We do think that the long-term expansion of the stock show is going to be revolve around youth. And so we started last year with our first day of youth cattle shows. This year that show went to 2 days. It was full last year. It'll be full again this year, and we could easily make that youth livestock cattle show a 3 or 4 day show, provided space is available to do that. We added in a new event, the Youth Sheep and Goat Show, on the last Saturday, Sunday of the Black Hills Stock Show. That will be at the James Kirstead Event Center because we don't have space at the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center at this time to host that. So, but it's exciting to see these families come back out and want to travel to Rapid City and participate. So, other things that are leading to growth, the truck to vendor horse sale had a real great response. Again, the big horse sale that we normally compete with for who's got the biggest, highest selling horses is the Fort Worth Stock Show. That show is not taking place this year. We've got a number of people interested from Oklahoma, Texas, looking for good horses. So we think that the horse sale side of things will be good. Our cattle numbers are strong. And, of course, our events, Ranch Rodeo, Bronx for Breakfast, the Wild Ride on the first Saturday night, Stockman's Banquet and Ball, all those things, ticket sales are as strong as they are in any given year. Our Black Hills Stock Show Stampede with a concert by Co Wetzel. And I know none of you have heard of him because I'd never really heard of him. But prior to the start of the show, he sold more tickets than we've ever sold for any show at the Black Hills Stock Show. It's probably not our demographic, but definitely a big push for that particular show. We're excited to be able to host. I mentioned to a few of you that your director or your commissioner packets will be here first part of next week. We're still waiting on our schedule of events for the final print for the small calendars you can carry with you. And I'll have those back with Holly first part of next week. I'll send you an email confirming all those. Other than that, we're just super honored to be able to host this event in Rapid City. We know it's a big part of the economy. We also know that it plays a huge role in the ag industry in West River. The cattle business does not stop because of a pandemic. You don't stop calving for 2 weeks while you're in quarantine. So that beef production still is going to go on, and this is the role that we play in that beef production to feed the U.S. So, any questions?
Chairman.
Commissioner Adcock.
Not questions, just if we've ever been involved in the stock show, the economic impact for what our county and the ag producers and the ag industry does is pretty amazing. And if, like I said to people, if you're city folk, you really don't get it until you go there and you go, wow. Or you drive by the fairgrounds, which I do a lot. I have properties over by there, and it's always busy. It's pretty amazing watching what happens at the fairgrounds. The stock show, how many years has the stock show been going on?
So this is our 63rd.
Wow. That's 63 years of economic impact for Rapid City and the surrounding area. That's pretty amazing. I just wanted to thank both of you and thank the stock show and the people that do all that work from your team, because that's a lot of work. If you've ever been to fairgrounds and watched Ron and John run around with their heads cut off, most of their team do, because they want to serve people and they do an amazing job of getting things done there. So we appreciate both of you and your team that help Pennington County and how you represent us. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
Ron, have you ever I thought last year we put a number together what the economic impact was for Rapid City.
The last study we had was done by Mike Madden, and it was done 3 years ago, I believe it was, and it was a $22 million economic impact.
And so this
Direct spending.
event that's coming to the Civic Center from Las Vegas, instead of being in Las Vegas, it's going to be in Rapid, and they're saying that's going to be $1.5 million impact. So this is how large that stock show is and how important it is to support that. And I want to thank you for your enthusiasm. And you're always positive. I never say anything negative. Just you get my day started. So thanks for all your work and your staff's work.
Thank you.
John, appreciate the update on the facilities.
You bet.
And any kind of timetable is relative to getting 4 back in place?
It'll have to be pretty immediately right after we. The nice thing is I kind of take a break from renting out the event center as far as like horse-related events go right after the stock show. We got to go to like what I call clean events. We do a lot of stuff with nonprofits, so we have the boys club coming in and doing a nonprofit event there and a couple other things. But then once we get into April, we'll be maxing out stalls again. So I mean,
Okay.
we built a good reputation by staying open, by being available this summer, and a lot of the region has taken notice and they want to come and produce events here. So I mean, last year we had 6 open weekends and this year we got 1. So and even then that one's not going to last probably another 2 weeks. So
Well, obviously, those roofs are pretty well built because it rolled at number 4 right over on 5, and apparently it didn't sustain hardly any damage on 5.
yeah, five just took a little bit of has a couple puncture holes, but we saved some of the good metal off of 4 to where we can go in and do some patchwork on what on what's still salvageable. Yeah, I mean, they held up pretty good. I mean, honestly, all those barns were built, like I said, Ron probably knows better, but all those barns were built for a long time ago. So for them to hold up for that wind, I mean, everybody saw Jerry's Cakes and Donuts sign that got split right in the middle of that metal, you know what I mean? So for those barns to hold up to that was pretty good,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but we'll need to, I mean, there's a couple projects, that obviously we have goals for that we'd like to do just to continue expanding, and hopefully we'll be able to roll, that construction of barn 4 into that and make some good progressive moves towards the future. So,
Chairman.
Ron, appreciate you and your crew, what you do. Getting all this organized during this period of time I know has been difficult. I don't know how your vendor numbers are, but are your vendors number pretty close to?
Yeah, they're good.
That's excellent. So, super.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
thank you. The bottom line is COVID has affected many people's lives. But for the ag industry, this stock show, if this doesn't go on, we already know how big a hit the ag industry has already taken. So this is very important to the ag industry to have this stock show, to be able to sell their cattle and their horses and do what we do for stock show. So I appreciate, during this time that we are keeping it open, that we are looking at that hit that has been taken for ag, and that we are moving forward and helping the people in this industry that really need it right now. And that's what this stock show does. And it's something that is well needed for Rapid City and the surrounding areas. Like I said, and you had said too, Ron, a lot of places are just shutting these events and things down, but we got to take care of our ag industry. It's huge for South Dakota.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I will mention that the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center is taking some additional steps for COVID protection. So their hand sanitation stations are throughout. They've got a misting machine that comes and purifies or cleanses, sterilizes by misting on surfaces. They've got masks that will be available to the public. So they've taken several steps. We, of course, have been doing that throughout the entire summer, about having hand sanitizers available at every place you go. We encourage personal responsibility and be as safe as you choose to be. And we encourage you to wear masks if that's what works for you.
Very good. Thank you, Ron. Commissioner LaCroix.
I just got a comment. I just want to applaud you on John and you guys both for getting the youth involved. I think the key word you said is they're going to be the ones taking over, and you got to get creating the events for them now is going to grow. And I'd love to see it go to a 5-day program, because that's just going to accelerate into the future. So I want to just congratulate you both for stepping up and seeing that vision and getting involved from a couple years ago, and you've already seen how it's going to go further. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Laster.
I also want to say thanks for all y'all do, and I hope to come talk to you about helping out in some of these events like you've asked us to do, and I'd challenge my compadres up here on the podium to come help out too where we can, so that way we kind of get into it and show our support as well. So thanks for all the work you guys do and the good reports that you're giving us. Thanks.
Appreciate it. I do have a great board of directors, a great bunch of volunteers, and the best staff in the business.
Super. Thank you for coming.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Commissioner
I just want to echo, Deb's comment about how important ag is. We have to realize that ag is the #1 industry in the state of South Dakota, followed by tourism. And we saw how much tourism was supported last summer, so we just need to follow that, and we have to keep both those industries up and going. So thanks again, Ron.
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item, we'll hear from Cindy Moeller, County Auditor. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Moeller, Pennington County Auditor. And now is the time that we are holding the public hearing on the first supplement of 2021. And this is a supplement for search and rescue from unassigned fund balance. This is actually from the revenue from the auction that was held in 2020. So the revenue was received in 2020.
Chairman,
Commissioner Hadcock.
move to approve the resolution for budget supplement SP 21-001.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Just an explanation. I think that for the most part, we probably are not going to see a lot of budget supplement coming to us early in the year, except for exceptions like this, where the auction was held, the money was generated in 2020. Search and rescue doesn't have a lot of funds available, and so it's important for us to move this into their budget item. So thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Hadcock, I appreciate the fact that you put that motion all in order also, and I'm going to ask all the commissioners to do that in the future so that Kara has a full motion. So a lot of times we see what's on our sheet. We don't realize that the public and those that are watching later do not see the entire motion that's taking place. So appreciate that. Next item is from Treasurer Janet Saylor. Morning, Janet.
Good morning, Commissioners. Janet Saylor, County Treasurer. Before you, you have three freezes, senior citizens tax freezes under 106A4. These tax freezes qualified before the April 1st deadline, but due to COVID, they were overlooked in our office. So under the law, the commissioners have the right to grant these abatements for the senior citizens tax freezes. I can't tell you their names. I can only give you their legal descriptions, the freeze value, and the amount to be abated. So I would need a motion to approve these three freezes.
And we can do all three of these on one motion?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any public comments relative to these tax freeze abatements? Back to the commission.
I'd move for approval. You want me to read them all?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Number one is legal description. I'd move to approve the senior tax freeze in the following applicants. Legal description. Eastern Acres Subdivision Block 5, Lot 2, qualifying year 2000, freeze value 62,800, tax to be abated 1,655.28. Number two, legal description, Chamber Section 9, Northwest Quarter, Northeast Quarter, Block 1, South S16 of Lot 7, and all Block 8, qualifying year 2015, freeze value 79,157, tax to be abated at 672.16. Number three, legal description, Robbinsdale number 7, Block 11, Lot 2, qualifying year 2004, freeze value 73,700, tax to be abated at $870.24.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Lassiter. All those, any further discussion on it? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Next item we have is from Emergency Services Communications Center, Kevin Carling.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ted Rufflet, Deputy Director of 911. Kevin's in a meeting right now, so he
Okay,
asked me to
thanks,
step.
Ted.
No problem. Good morning. The State 911 Coordination Board recently made available funding to help 911 centers in South Dakota upgrade equipment and do other needed updates. And we had already done our Camp Rapid project. You might recall we put a new backup dispatch center there. And so we thought, if this was something that we were doing now, it certainly would qualify. So we put in an application and asked them if they would consider helping to fund that or pay off the lease purchase that we entered into, and they said absolutely. So we received an award letter from them recently. It was dated December 23rd, and they awarded us, they had taken the money that they had available and allocated it out by population. So our initial allocation was the $595,000, so we applied for that amount. The total payoff is $646,000, which is a difference of $51,000, and we would propose to just pay that from our reserve fund. We certainly have that amount in there. We could go back and apply for the difference in a later round, and we may still do that, but this is a good opportunity to pay that lease off and save the county about $70,000 in interest, and it also makes those funds available for other needs and projects. So it's a great program, and we were lucky to get the money. So the requested motion is to authorize payment of the Motorola lease purchase dated May 24th, 2018 in the amount of $646,545.37 from the 911 fund. Once we make the payment, we will then send them proof and they'll reimburse us the $595,000. And I would answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Commissioner Adcock.
That'd be my motion.
I have a motion to
Second.
approve and a second from Commissioner Roskinek. Further discussion.
Follow up.
Commissioner Adcock.
Ted, I just want to thank you. I know you've been with us a long time, and this, I'm pretty sure happened because of you and your team. You guys do a great job. I try to come and visit you from the commission, and we give you lots of treats and different things.
We
because-
appreciate your visits and your treats.
Well, our commission appreciates you, and it's from all of us. You got a great team, and this is just one part of that makes a difference, so we appreciate that, sir. And
Thank you
you've
very
been with us, like I said, for a long time, sir, and I've seen all the amazing things that you have done for 911, and they can't work without you, Ted.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your support.
Further discussion? I'll call the roll. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
Jerome Harvey, Fire Administrator.
The short guy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jerome Harvey, Pennington County Fire Administrator. For several years, the South Dakota State Forestry, then they were Resource Conservation and Forestry, and then they became the South Dakota Department of or South Dakota Wildland Fire. And they would send us a request to have a resolution that allows us to call resources from the state if we have an incident that exceeds our capability and types of resources that are not normally in our fire suppression inventory, such as aircraft, hand crews, so on and so forth. The last time we had a request from them was in 2016. Recently, this year, they are doing a resolution or requesting this resolution from all 66 counties. Currently, we can request from the state 2 vehicles and up to 6 people under state statute, and we have done so and will continue to use that state statute. That does not cost us anything. But if we were to go above that need, then we would need to use this resolution. And essentially, it's an insurance policy that you pay for at the time that you use it. It has been used in my research less than 6 times or less in 32 years. So it is the time when you actually need the resource and don't have access to it. More commonly would be some type of an aircraft or some type of aerial resource that we just don't simply have, and we need to stop the fire, and we've either lost it in an initial attack or so on and so forth. So it's not used very much, and it's just simply an insurance policy. The only time that I'm familiar with it since I've been here and being used was on a fire in Custer County, and they did use some aircraft on the fire, and there's already 1 civilian death. So that's the time that I'm familiar with it being used in the last 4 years. So do you have a resolution? I appreciate Holly putting up with the patience as we got the resolution straightened out the way it should be. Council Alderman is not here today, but he has a family emergency. And so we do have a approved resolution there for you, and I think it's much better than the first one that we worked on from years ago.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing designation of personnel with authority of the request for suppression assistance from the South Dakota Wildland Fire Coordinator, Wildland Fire Division, sir.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Next item from the Highway Department, Mark Schock.
You have a visitor with you, Mark? I think that guy over there is a mechanic or something.
Yes, we have Dan Larson. He's our equipment manager, shop foreman. He's here today. We have an item coming up after this first one that deals with our equipment purchases for 2021.
Thank you,
A
Mark.
request for purchases. The first item is South Rochford Road construction of 162-272 Forest Service Highway easement deed. This is come about by the planned reconstruction of the South Rochford Road Bridge, finally, after about 18 years of work to get to this point. It has been bid and let this last fall and awarded to Core Construction of Rapid City, or of Hermosa, I should say. And that construction will be done this spring or summer with a completion date of October 1st, 2021. But in order to do that, the new structure will be located approximately 40 feet north of the existing structure. Therefore, the land that the structure will be on is already owned by Pennington County. We have that, but to shift the road north to meet the new construction, the new alignment of the new bridge, we will encroach onto Forest Service property. So therefore, this easement deed is required for us to be allowed as a county to put a road on Forest Service property. So I guess any questions? I'm ready to answer those.
Mr. Chair,
Questions? Commissioner Roskinek.
I'll move to approve South Rochford Road Structure 5216227 Forest Service Highway easement deed with the United States of America Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimous. Thank you, Mark. Next item, B.
Thank you. Item B is our planned 2021 equipment purchase authorization, we're asking. Our equipment purchase plan, which was approved by the commission in 2019, is a 10 or 11-year plan, actually, with the projected needs on our equipment at the Pennington County Highway Department. It's been working well so far, but unfortunately, due to our annual DOT inspections that are required by federal law, we discovered that our belly dump gravel trailers are in need of replacement sooner than anticipated. We planned on buying 2 of those this year, 2 in 2023 and 2 in 2025. What we would request from the board is to replace those this year in 2021 and move the planned vacuum broom from this year. We believe we can get by for another couple of years with that broom and make it work until 2023. We are also proposing to use a Sourcewell cooperative purchasing, which allows state and local governments to purchase from competitively solicited contracts. That allows local governments and state governments to not go through the actual complete bidding process. We have a contract with Sourcewell, and we can buy off of their purchasing contracts. It saves time and money, not going through the process of complete bid solicitation, I should say, in writing those specs. We would ask to purchase, we are requesting authorization to purchase 1 motor grader and 6 trailers, belly dump trailers, along with 1 truck that is on our 2021 plan. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Commissioner Adcock?
Do we want to take all 3 motions in one?
No. Let's
Board
do them-
or just
let's
one
do them
at a time?
separately. I have a question of Mark.
Okay.
Mark, tell us what happens, what happened to the belly dump? Obviously, they're degraded to some extent. What does that? Is it the salt, or is it, what is it?
It was, road chemicals was the biggest culprit on those. Keep in mind, a couple of these trailers are 30 years old. They're 2000 and, what were they? I'll find the right page here. Yes, 2 of them are 30 years old, and they were 1991 models, 2 of them. And then 3 of them are about 14 years old. And what happened with the newer ones, the 30-year-old ones, of course, are just wore out. The 14-year-old ones, it's a good product. There's vendors at many conventions that are selling liners for the inside of trailers. They're actually a thick plastic liner that's bolted on the inside of the trailers and on the bottom on the doors. And we purchased those to put life into our trailers, but we found that on the sides they're a good product. They cut down on the wear and tear of the metal on the sides when you're graveling or dumping gravel in the trailers, I should say. But on the doors is another situation where on the sides, the moisture and any contaminants that get between the plastic and the metal can run out the bottom and therefore dry and not stay wet. On the doors, they lay flat, it lays flat. So now you have a plastic surface lying on a flat door surface that traps moisture. And today's road chemicals are getting quite corrosive. A lot of entities are going to straight salt or sodium chloride for treating ice conditions on roads. And those chemicals and moisture get trapped in between those two layers, and we found that it's rusting away at the metal and the doors. So we had some corrosion going on that we were not aware of until this year's inspections. Is too late. So we learned a lesson there. We will probably continue with the liners on the sides, but definitely we'll get away from them on the doors.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
so we're looking at 6 trailers, right?
Correct.
And can we assume that they're going to last for 15 years?
I think we can assume they will. Yes.
And then the ones that we're going to get rid of, do they have some salvage value?
They do. We didn't ask for any trade-in on any of this equipment, the truck, the trailers, or the motor grader. We plan on having an auction. If approved, we would plan to have an auction this spring. We have been replacing trucks due to a similar situation where double frames have trapped these corrosive chemicals, these road chemicals and moisture, and it's expanding the frames on the trucks and causing issues there. So we have several trucks that we've been replacing the last couple of years. We have the belly dump trailers, 6 of them, and we'll have a motor grader that we plan to have an auction, a surplus. We will ask for surplus authorization and have an auction this spring, possibly in conjunction with buildings and grounds with any surplus they have.
So yeah, this number here did not include trade-ins, so we still might be able to get some salvage value out of those
We
trailers.
expect to, yes. We expect
then-
to get some good money back.
On the
from-
John Deere's, we're trying to keep those under 7,000 hours. Was that the number that I recall for warranty?
On the motor graders, we're attempting to keep them keep them new and under a 7-year warranty. Yes, so we'll be rotating them out quite often. If we can keep them under warranty, it'll save the taxpayer a lot of money in repairs potentially.
You know, I drove by Hill City the other day and I saw one of the road graders out there and they were power washing it. Is that a technique that we use on the belly dumps too? Because of the corrosive, do they get washed like the road grader or mortar grader would? Would that?
As far as the corrosion goes,
Yeah.
you say, the motor graders are not out in those chemicals as much. We use the motor graders for snow removal on our gravel roads and gravel maintenance. So typically, road chemicals or ice treatments are not put on gravel roads. They're only put on asphalt roads. So they see less of that.
Yeah, I just wondered if those belly dumps ever get washed and if that would help if they tried to get that corrosive chemical off of them.
It most definitely does. And with our new facility that was built 3 years ago, we did incorporate an indoor wash bay. Yeah. It has an undercarriage wash. It was expensive, yes, but we truly believe it'll pay for itself in the long run, especially with our sanders that are in that and our trucks that are in that with the sanders on them extensively. So we become diligent to, after each storm, we'll run those trucks through the wash, and the belly dumps will wash periodically. We have a much better facility where we can do that year round now, where we were limited to outside washing with a fire hose before, and we couldn't do that in the winter. So we have a much better facility to keep up on that situation now.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't aware of that ability to inside your facility. So,
Mark,
you.
I think the department should be commended for getting 25 to 30 years of life out of these belly dumps. That's pretty amazing to get that much life out of those pieces of equipment anyway, so.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
move to authorize the Highway Department to purchase one new 2021 John Deere 772G motor grader from RDO Equipment Company, Rapid City, South Dakota, for $321,600, utilizing their Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract 032119 JDC.
I have a motion, do I have a
Second.
second? And a second.
Follow up.
Commissioner Adcock.
Dan, would you like to come up here? Thank you, Dan. So what do you do at the county, Dan?
I'm the shop foreman,
How long have you been the shop foreman?
going on 19 years now.
Yes, sir. People ask why our equipment lasts 25, 30 years is because you got people like Dan and his team. They work on these vehicles, and half of them, I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah.
But we appreciate what you do, Dan, and I met a bunch of your team. Wow, you guys do a great job. You have to keep these huge vehicles that cost the county a lot of money going. And we just talked about it again, 25, 30 years. People like Dan make that happen. So anything you have to say, Dan?
Well, my team and I do it, it's a group of people, and we've got a really good crew there that, we couldn't do it alone without them, with Mark and Joe and then the guys that I work with there in the shop, and just a good bunch of people. And he was asking about if we wash the belly dumps in the trucks, they get, every 10,000 miles we service them, and we bring them in and wash them. The gravel trucks get, at every 10,000 interval, they get washed and brought through the shop. And as Mark mentioned, the plows and stuff, they come in after every storm. If it's going to be a while, if it snows and it's going to be a couple of days, it snows, we won't wash them. We'll wait until it looks like good weather, but the plows all get washed.
Do you have to work on the vehicles like in a certain mileage or anything, or check yourselves of like, is it every certain amount of miles, or is it just because it's where it's at and how far it's, or what each truck does?
We do it by hours and miles. It depends. If it's a piece of equipment that it sits and idles and is worked off of like a backhoe or something like that, we do it in the hours. Something that drives down the road like the belly dumps and stuff, we do them by mileage.
And how many divisions do you have? Do you have a Wall and a New Underwood and here, and how many mechanics do you know?
We have 4 divisions. We have Rapid City, Wall, New Underwood, and Hill City. And we have, I think it's about 450 pieces of equipment, and there's 5 of us that take care of it.
Wow.
So we like to, try to keep it standardized if we can, because it's a lot of electronics, a lot of technology and stuff nowadays. So if we can keep it standard, and like our trucks and everything that we've been working on, we pretty much know what to do. If something is in Wall or New Underwood and it's broke, if they call us, and we can pretty much know what to take with us to fix it, to get it back to the shop or whatever. There's just a small group of us, and we probably do about 90% of all of our repairs in shop. We send out very little to other dealerships, or we try to do most of it in-house.
I just thought it was important to bring Dan up because how much he does save people and save the taxpayers, because these guys know what they're doing. And if you've ever been in their shop, you want to see clean, you'd think you'd go in there and there'd be grease and just gunk all over. It looks like nobody works in there. They keep it so spotless, it's just amazing. And like you said, Dan, 450 pieces of equipment that run through there and things you guys work on. That's a lot of equipment, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you. And like I say, my crew, deserves all the credit, because they're a good bunch of people, and they when they get finished with a job, the job's not done until it's cleaned up, And the taxpayer come in, that's their building, and when they come in, I don't like them to see it dirty, that we don't take care of it, and we do, and we appreciate having that facility to work in. and
you,
appreciate
sir.
everything that you guys do for us too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Commissioner Roskinek.
So the mortar grader, they're roughly 322,000. And if I recall, a couple years ago, when we were in 2019, when we were trying to see if we wanted to go to this program, I thought it was brought up that if these things get out of warranty, there was one that we had that was $150,000 to repair whatever it was. So that's not totally uncommon, is it? If it's a certain part on one of those graders.
Yeah, if you lose an engine or a transmission, it gets
I
expensive
believe
right
this was
away.
a transmission-related
Yeah, it was
problem, and
transmission, yeah.
it gets pretty spendy when they're not under warranty. So I totally understand that program. It's a good program.
Very expensive. That's part of the reason we wanted to keep the motor graders in the warranty program. Like Dan said, we do probably 95% of our repairs in-house on everything else, but we've got 450 pieces of equipment. These guys are busy every day. He's got a great team. They take care of our equipment. They take care of our facility. They're very diligent in saving the tax dollar. I guess we all are at Highway. We take pride in our equipment. We take pride in our work. We take pride in our facility. And with your guys' help, we really appreciate that. It allows us to be able to make a savings for the taxpayer on what we do. Initial cost on the facility was big, but it's going to come back in being able to wash this equipment up and the efficiency that these guys have for the repairs. It's been great.
So Mark, when you see your employees today, just tell them that we said thank you.
Okay.
Personally said thank you because they can't be here, but extend that thank you if you would, please.
I will, and thank you all. We appreciate your help.
Thanks,
Dan.
Mark and Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Do I have a motion on the tandem axle truck?
You already got
You got it.
motion in a second.
Oh, I've got the motion in a second,
Yeah.
back up here on the motor grader, don't I?
Yep.
That we're dealing with, okay.
Yep.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Okay, now I'll go to motion 2 on the tandem axle truck.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
move to authorize the Highway Department to purchase one new 2022 114 SD Freightliner tandem axle truck from Floyd's Truck Center, Rapid City, South Dakota, in the amount of $108,692 off the Pennington County 2020 contract for one new 2021 tandem axle truck.
Second.
And I have a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Down to motion 3. Do I have a motion for the Trail King?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lassiter.
I move we authorize the Highway Department to purchase 6 new 2021 Trail King TKBD 22-433 trailers from Butler Machinery, Rapid City, South Dakota, for a total cost of $337,356, utilizing their Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract number 121918 TKI.
Second.
And I have a second. I've got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Mark?
You guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for your service,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Number 8, item 18 is a request to establish a speed limit, Pine Grove Road District. I believe we have, do we have Janice Helgeson on Zoom?
Yes.
And we do. So we have the request to change the speed limit, set the speed limit within this road district at 30 mile per hour. Janice, would you like to give us your spiel on this?
Short and sweet, I guess. I'm just here on behalf of the Pine Grove Road District. I'm just looking for a resolution and establishing the speed zone. I indicated it on the map, and I guess just looking for approval.
So Janice, how many live on that road district? Can you tell us?
I'm going to say roughly 30.
Okay.
Chairman,
Commissioner Hadcock.
I move approval. We also have, or with the follow-up,
Do I have a second on the approval?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Hadcock.
I agree with Ms. Janice, and also our highway department has no objection to the request on the speed zone for the portion of Pine Grove Road. So in that case, with our highway department's blessing, I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Ross Connect.
I would just add that I'm in favor of the speed limit reduction, but I would only suggest we do that in areas that we have jurisdiction or the road district has jurisdiction.
So Commissioner Hadcock, I'd ask if you'd welcome a friendly amendment to yours to include that or not.
Yes, sir.
So the motion really is to establish a speed limit at 30 mile per hour within the boundaries of the Pine Grove Road District that fits within the boundaries and jurisdiction of Pennington County.
Yes, sir.
Correct, Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Ross Connect?
Correct.
One comment.
And Commissioner
I
Lassiter,
agree.
are you agreeable with that? Okay, so I have a motion and a second for the discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner
Just-
LaCroy.
Just one comment. I'm going to approve, I'm in for this. But I just want to tell Janice, I'm really impressed with the notes for their road district meetings. Those are pretty darn good. I was reading through those. Usually we don't have them that detailed, but you guys did a really good job of representing your neighborhood. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Janice, the reason for the putting in boundaries and jurisdiction is that that is a Forest Service road. There's some areas where Pennington County, we aren't in charge of the maintenance for some of that area. So what we're doing is basically approving the speed limit where Pennington County, has the authority on that road.
Okay, well, the first mile on Pine Grove is maintained by the highway department, but we personally, the residents on that road take it from the 1 mile mark all the way down to the trailhead. Now, the Forest Service does have jurisdiction. To my knowledge, they haven't provided any proof of that yet. I had requested that several months ago, but anyways, we wanted to, we want the speed limit established and to be able to post up speed limit signs from that 1 mile mark all the way to the trailhead. We have been receiving, we've had a lot of motorized trail traffic and a lot of speeders on that road. And I guess we just kind of want to establish that and go from there, I guess.
We're simply trying to clarify that wherever we have jurisdiction, we will establish that 30 mile per hour. There may need to be some additional work with the Forest Service to ensure that they are agreeable with the entire route that you're requesting.
Yes, I've been working with Donnie Wien down in the Custer office, and he referred me over to Cliff Rohr, I believe it was, to kind of figure out the South Dakota codified laws and what we need to do to establish these speed limits on that specific area. And I guess the first step was to get this established through Pennington County and then go from there.
Okay. Further discussion by the commission? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
I might add, can you
you,
keep
Jen.
us posted on your progress with the Forest Service relative
Yes.
to the area that we don't have jurisdiction, so that, we just don't end this today. We want to make sure that your road stays safe. And so we'll certainly work with you.
Yes, I can do that. Like I say, I'm waiting for Donnie to give me those. It's not recorded with the Register of Deeds that I could find. I tried to look all of that up and whatever to find out exactly if they do have jurisdiction. They're telling me they are, but I haven't seen proof of that. So I guess we'll go from there and I will keep you posted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Janice. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Next item is 19. Commissioner Ross Connect.
I'm asking for a motion to move to postpone indefinitely the proposed revision to the Megwater policy and directed Road Advisory Committee to conduct a review of the current policy. The Road Advisory Committee is a work in progress. It's going to be a committee that will be compiled of planning and zoning, myself, and the Highway Department to address the conditions of our roads in Pennington County with the increased residential density. So we were going to make a motion today to modify that dust or Megwater policy, but I think it'd be a little premature. So I'd like to have the Mystic Road group, the folks that have concerns with the gravel road in their area, work with me, and I'll work with the road committee, and we'll let the road committee try to give us some guidance once that committee's formed. So just asking for postponement indefinitely at this point.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. So, Ron, the Road Advisory Committee is established under what authority? Did we establish that under?
Yes.
We are
That-
working on that,
We
yes.
did?
Yes, the
Okay.
Board of Commissioners approved that, I believe, November 17th.
Okay.
That'll be one of the items that we'll talk about on the 29th at our planning session, the creation of this road advisory
Okay,
committee.
very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. So, are we set up for a executive session at this point?
Your executive session is here and ready to go if you are.
I would suggest that since we're, item number 20 is scheduled for 10:30, that we go to executive session.
Move to go into executive session.
I've got a motion and a second for executive session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're in executive session.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Motion by LaCroy, second by Hadcock. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. John?
Morning, Commissioners. John Morrill, Pennington County Human Resources. I have a recommended motion for your consideration to place Jason Enders at pay grade B31, step 15, for an hourly rate, of $28.97, effective January 10th, 2021.
That'd be my motion.
I've got a motion from Commissioner LaCroy. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Lassiter. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, John. I would now take a motion to go into the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Hadcock, second by LaCroy. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning,
Jason
Jason.
Dennison, Assistant Director. Be just a minute. Cody's on his way down for his presentation.
Morning, Cody.
Good morning. Sorry, a little late. Agenda item A is variance request 20-22. It is to reduce the side yard setback from 25 feet to 4 feet in a low-density residential zoning district. The applicant is William and Stacy Hayford. The landowner is also William and Stacy Hayford. Lot size is 0.28 acres and it's zoned low-density residential, which requires a 3-acre lot size. Staff is recommending denial. There's no special conditions on the property that would excuse literal enforcement of the Pennington County zoning ordinance, section 207. If the Board of Adjustment disagrees and decides to approve the request, staff would include a condition that the setback variance to the side yard setback be 6 feet for the proposed garage. When considering variances, staff uses a two-pronged approach. For prong number one, does it injure the neighborhood? The request is not a blight on the neighborhood and does not appear that the threat or a nuisance. Number two, the subject property is zoned low-density residential with a lot size of 0.28 acres. The surrounding properties are zoned low-density residential with 3-acre lot sizes under the 3-acre minimum. Number three, no, the zoning ordinance for low-density residential requires a 25-foot setback to all property lines. Number four, the current comprehensive plan has the property zone rural residential, which requires a 3-acre lot size. And number five, the location of the building should not harm public safety, health, or general welfare of the community. Prong number two, whether a special condition exists to grant the variance. Narrowness and topography do limit buildable area on the property. However, a rezone to suburban residential would allow an 8-foot setback. There are other options within the zoning ordinance. The subject property is legal nonconforming. If the property is brought into compliance by rezoning to suburban residential, the required setback would be reduced from 25 feet to 8 feet. With a smaller structure, the applicant could maintain an 8-foot setback. And B, no, the applicant has other options per the zoning ordinance. Rezoning and a smaller structure could meet setbacks for suburban residential zoning. This was sent out for comment. The county highway department came back and said that on the plat there is a 6-foot drainage utility easement. Therefore, the applicant could not have a 4-foot setback unless he vacates that easement from the plat. That is why staff recommended the condition for 6 feet instead of 4 feet. And there was some correspondence from Dean Haynes and Chris Walton. Their properties are up on the board if you wish to see where those properties are located at. And again, staff is recommending denial because there is no special condition on the property that would excuse little enforcement of Pennington County Zoning Ordinance Section 207.
So Cody, explain to us exactly where those properties, oh, I see, it's off to the side there. So the Waltons express concern about it?
Correct. They sent an email, and I believe it's part of the packet. They wish to maintain the 25-foot setback that is required. These properties are really off from what the lines show. So, for example, the property in question is outlined here, but this should be shifted up. This house that's right here actually fits within this property. This house is the Dean Haynes property that slides up, and then the Russ and Chris Walton's property is this, but the line should actually be more up in here.
Wow.
Okay, so the Haynes property adjoins the Hayford property?
Correct. It's actually shares the property line where the proposed structure is going to go.
Okay, and the Walton property line does not share any portion of?
Nope. The Dean Haynes property is in between the two properties.
Okay. So are the Hayfords here? Would you like to come up and?
Our builder, Dave Cruz, is already comes with us.
Sure. Just state your name.
William and Stacy Hayford.
Okay.
We're perfectly okay with the 6-foot setback option. We understand the utility. Our concern is the one neighbor 2 houses down from us who opposed. We took some pictures. He has multiple buildings within that 25-foot range where he has either built without a building permit or gotten an easement. The one gentleman who did email in that he's opposed. So I'm a little baffled by his opposing this. I can show you pictures. You can almost touch his buildings from the road. Let's see. And also, there's a small garage, 20 by 24. I'm not asking for a lot. One of my jobs is I work on vehicles. I've been doing it in my yard. It's very difficult. I would really like to have a garage. I don't have a bunch of outbuildings like the neighbors. We might be one of the only ones that is up to code right now out there. I have pictures of multiple neighbors. All but 2 neighbors on that road have multiple structures within 6 to 8 feet of the roadway or a neighbor's property. I just wanted to say that also. And I'm not sure why the county's map is so bad. In fact, our next door neighbor, his garage is built on our property. I don't know how that ever happened, but I have a picture that actually demonstrates where it hangs over into our property by a couple of feet. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to cause problems. I just want to build a little garage.
William, you're full-time residence there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The questions that the commission has?
I got a couple for Cody. Cody, I went to Rapid Map and you identified the subject property at 0.28 acres, the lot to the north owned by Dean Haynes. Rapid Map shows that being 0.28 acres, so you can obviously one of those is a lot larger. I'm just curious. That's why I wanted a plat.
Yeah, so I can't really speak to that. Rapid Map is done by equalization. They pull the plats and they put that information in there. So I'm not sure where they got that information from.
Rapid Map shows the subject property being 0.43 acres. I'm just pointing that out. And I was a little confused too, because the folks that are against this aren't adjacent property owners, but we got to remember that the person that is adjacent to this will not always own that property. And so we got to take into consideration when these things exchange hands, what the consequence could be to the different owners down the road. But I'm totally sympathetic. I can understand the need for a garage, but if we can do a rezone and try to.
Yeah, I speak again real quick?
Sure, come on up, William.
So we actually have a letter from the neighbor Dean saying he doesn't have a problem with this. It's in your packet. I understand your point. They may have to move or something down the road. But he also has a building. He has a shed within that, even 4 feet of the property line also. So it's within 4 feet of our property line and his property line. He has a shed there. He has a carport in the front. We tried to originally do the garage in the front, and they said you can't build a garage in the front yard in the county anymore if it's not attached. So then we decided to go to the side. We've been trying really hard. There's just no place else to put it.
Tell me about the topography of the area.
It's lightly wooded, right off of Highway 385.
Pretty flat, though?
It's fairly flat, and it's sitting on a decent amount of rock.
Okay.
Every house has their own well and septic out there.
So
Okay.
if I may, you can see the shed on the map. So that's Dean's house on the top, and then his shed is just a little white box underneath of that. And that's the shed that's just a few feet from our fence, which borders the property line. So where we were looking at putting the small garage was between that shed and the house in that small area that's not being used for anything right now.
Can you kind of point it out can you use the mouse and show us so I have a better reference?
Sure,
if you don't
yeah.
mind, please.
Right, so right here is the shed that borders the property line that's just a few feet off. And then this is the tiny little area right here that we would like to build a garage.
Okay, so your house is right below where you have the arrow?
This is our house right here.
Right there, okay. And access to this is, where do you get access?
Off of Campfire Drive.
Yeah.
And you enter that from which direction? Does that go all the way through?
This way. So it goes.
You gotta use your mouse.
I am.
This is right across.
So go this way down to.
Okay,
Right across from the Giraffic Park,
Yep.
YMCA.
yep, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner LaCroix.
I'm going to attempt to make a motion. I move to approve VA 20-22 with one condition, because I believe granting the variance doesn't run counter to the public interest based on the staff's findings. And number 2, special conditions do exist with the topography and the narrowness of the lot that excuses the literal for the applicants. I believe by granting this variance we will be observing the ordinance in the spirit, but also ensure substantial justice is done.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second to approve. Now, the question I have is, are you doing that for the 6 foot or are you doing that for the 4 foot?
You guys were saying 6,
6 foot works just fine.
just fine. 6 foot.
6 foot, is that okay, Commissioner Lassiter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as I read the information, it appeared that if this was ever rezoned to suburban residential, that would require 8 foot. Am I reading that correctly? Does it allow room for, at the present time, for what you want to do to be at 8 foot or not?
No, I don't think
Okay.
it would at 8 foot. We'd have to tear part of our deck out to do that.
Okay. Okay. Further questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Up, guys.
Thank you.
Well. Kara, did you get that motion okay?
I did. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Morning again, Commissioners. Jason Thennison, Assistant Director. Agenda item B is subdivision regulations variance SV 20-06 to waive submittal of percolation test and soil profile hole information. Also, the dedication and improvement of undeveloped section line right-of-way, and also to reduce pavement width from 32 feet to 24 feet for Old Hill City Road. The applicant is David Spear. The agent is Fisk Land Surveying. Janella's in the audience if you have any questions for her today.
Chair, I have a motion.
Commissioner Hadcock?
Move to approve subdivision regulation variance VA 20-06 to waive submittal of percolation tests and soil profile information, the dedication and improvement of undeveloped section line right-of-way, and reduce pavement width from 32 feet to 24 feet for Old Hill City Road.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Any public comments relative to this? Back to the commission. Any comments, questions? Not, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn the Board of Adjustment and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hadcock, second by Commissioner Lassiter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're at the consent agenda. Brittany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following item. Item C is minor plat MPL 20-44 per Bryan and Summer Bach, and approval is recommended.
Is there any public comments in regard to this? Or anybody from the public that wants to have this removed from the consent calendar? Any commissioners? All those in favor of the,
Move for approval.
I got a motion to approve. Is there a
Second.
second? And a second. All those in favor of the consent agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item that we have is
The regular agenda items.
gotta get down to D, I guess. Second reading of ordinance amendment. Brittany.
So item D is second reading of ordinance amendment OA 20-07 for Pennington County to amend section 200, establishment of zoning districts and map reference, to amend and supersede the existing section 200, establishment of zoning districts and map reference, and approval is recommended.
Move for approval.
Got a motion from Commissioner LaCroix to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Lassiter. Any further comments?
Any public comment?
Any public comment? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C.
E. So item E is second reading of ordinance amendment OA 20-08, Pennington County, to amend section 100, the statutory authorization and jurisdiction, to amend and supersede the existing section 100, statutory authorization and jurisdiction. Planning Commission recommended approval of ordinance amendment OA 20-08, and the Board of Commissioners approved the first reading of this ordinance amendment on January 5th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Adcock to approve, second by Ross Connect. Further discussion?
I do have one comment. I did receive an email this morning from Miss Joyce Chagru. She said, agenda item E, which is a second reading of one of the planning and zoning ordinances, definitions. Page 34 of 36, number 142, last line, there should be a number of days designated. It has to do with temporary uses, and it should be 30 days should be added. The number 30 should be added to that.
Is the Commissioner Adcock and Commissioner Ross Connect okay with adding?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The amendment?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion will include the 30 days. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. F.
Item F is second reading of ordinance amendment OA 20-09 for Pennington County to amend section 300 supplementary regulations to include and reserve section 321 for hard rock mining, to amend and supersede the existing section 300 supplementary regulations, and to amend section 204G special animal keeping regulations and add it as section 322. To amend and supersede the existing section 204G for special animal keeping regulations. Planning Commission recommended approval of ordinance amendment OA 20-09, and the Board of Commissioners approved the first reading of this ordinance amendment on January 5th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Laster. Is there a second? And a second by Commissioner LaCroix. Further discussion? I see that you clarified that on the animals, so.
Yes.
That works well for me. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Item G.
Morning again, Commissioners. Jason Thennison, Assistant Director. Agenda item G is layout plan 20-45. The applicant is David Spear. Agent is Fisk Land Surveying. Again, Janelle's in the audience if you have questions for her. The applicant's agent, Fisk Land Surveying, has requested layout plan 20-45 to subdivide and create lots 1 and 2 of Grindstone subdivision. As the property sits today, it is zoned limited agriculture, which carries a 10-acre minimum lot size. It is 12.8 acres. There's no special flood hazard area on the property. Access is off of Old Hill City Road via 2 existing approaches. There is section line on the rear of the property, a single-family residence, and 5 outbuildings, as well as an on-site wastewater treatment system. Proposed lots will continue to be zoned limited agriculture district. There is a rezone and comprehensive plan amendment requested as the next agenda item. There will be no special flood hazard area on the property. Section line will remain, and access will continue to be off of Old Hill City Road. Lot 1 will become 3.74 acres and contain 1 of the outbuildings, which is a detached garage. And Lot 2 will be 6.52 acres, contain the single-family residence, 4 outbuildings, and the on-site wastewater treatment system.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Commissioner Ross Connect to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Lassiter. Further discussion?
Jason.
Public comment?
Chairman.
Commissioner Adcock.
Jason, this isn't the one with the river through it and with the two?
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Got your question answered?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item
Agenda
H.
Agenda item H is rezone 20-07 and comprehensive plan amendment CA 20-05. Again, the applicant's agent Fisk Land Surveying has requested rezone 20-07 and comprehensive plan amendment 20-05 to rezone 12.8 acres from limited agriculture to low-density residential district, and to amend the comprehensive plan to change future land use from ranchette residential district to rural residential district.
Move to approve.
Is there any comments from the public? I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Ross Connect. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Unanimous. Item I.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Brittany Molitor. Item I is public hearing of ordinance number 725, a temporary zoning ordinance restricting rezoning in Pennington County, a 6-month moratorium. Did you want me to read the resolution? Did you want?
No, I think please read the resolution.
Okay. An ordinance establishing temporary zoning regulations that restrict rezoning in Pennington County, 6-month moratorium, be it ordained by Pennington County, the following ordinance be enacted as follows. Whereas the Pennington County Board of Commissioners has concluded there is a present need to study the impact of rezoning in Pennington County to determine whether current zoning regulations adequately protect the public health, safety, and general welfare. And whereas SDCL Section 11-2-10 authorizes the Board of County Commissioners in the interest of public health, safety, and general welfare to adopt emergency temporary zoning controls for a reasonable period of time to study regulated land uses and related matters. And whereas a moratorium on the approval of rezoning in Pennington County is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public health, safety, and general welfare. And now therefore be ordained that the Pennington County Board of Commissioners hereby approves a 6-month moratorium on the approval of rezoning requests in Pennington County. And it is further ordained that the moratorium will end when the amendments to Section 200 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance that are currently pending take effect. And it is further ordained that the Pennington County Board of Commissioners hereby declared an emergency to exist under SDCL 7-18A-8 and 11-2-10, and therefore this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon approval.
Thank you, Brittany. Is there any public comment relative to this?
Mr. Chair,
Seeing none, Commissioner Ross Connect.
Brittany, is there anything in the pipeline that this could impact, holding, the 6 months moratorium?
The ones that were submitted, we have heard. There was one that was continued at the Planning Commission because they were asking to rezone to a ranchette district, which doesn't exist in our current zoning ordinance. With the reading of this 200 that was approved today, it should be approximately, 45 days before it takes effect.
Colin McNeese, State's Attorney's Office. I think it's February 24th, and the proposed ordinance has a sunset provision for when Section 200 takes effect. So the moratorium will only last until Section 200 becomes effective, which, like I said, I believe is February 24th, but I am terrible at math. So we're probably going to need somebody who's better at math to count out the 45 days.
Yeah, it's the 30 days from the date of publication of the minutes.
Okay.
And then I do just want to clarify one thing, that technically this is not a resolution, it is technically an ordinance.
What?
That it's technically an ordinance, not a resolution. I don't think that necessarily matters as far as the conversation goes, but I just wanted to point that out. And that having that moratorium, I think will be a good thing because, as Brittany noted, there are certain land uses that no longer exist that people technically could rezone to now, which would create an issue. I think I previously in some conversations mentioned we're kind of still dealing with the fallout from the 1994 South Dakota Supreme Court case that threw out all of our zoning ordinances, and we're still kind of dealing with the fallout of that. So I think the moratorium is a good deal until we get the Section 200 becomes effective.
So I'm understanding that with the adoption of this, that it would go into effect February 24th because of the publication dates.
The current section, or the ordinance amendment that was heard today on Section 200.
Would be effective February 24th for 6 months. Or,
Mr. Chair, if I may, if you approve the temporary zoning ordinance, if the board does, then with your signature, it would go in effect today as under the emergency clause provisions.
okay,
It would sunset or automatically end upon the 30 days. So
30 or 45, I can't remember which would be February 24th, if my math is correct. But the moratorium will essentially be for about a month and 5 days.
Because you got something else coming forward that's going to replace it.
Correct,
Then you
Commissioner
don't need
LaCroix.
it.
Okay, so the language here where it says 6-month moratorium is not correct then?
That's worst-case scenario. That was put in here because we did not know what was going to happen at the second reading for sure, that it was going to be approved. That's why there is that sunset clause in there, that upon the adoption and the effective
Okay.
of the 200, then it would automatically end.
Okay, I'm following you now. Any questions by the commission?
I think that helped answer my question.
Move for approval.
I've got a motion. Did I have a second from Commissioner
I
Lyle?
second it, yep.
You got a question?
No, he was asking, do we
Oh.
already have a motion? I was like, no, I don't think so.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 725 with the emergency declaration. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 21, items from Commissioner Manager Holly Hennies.
Commissioners, this agenda item is to request the Board of Commissioners to change the compensation rates for the Planning Commission members and the Weed and Pest Board members to $50 per meeting plus mileage effective February 1st, 2021. A quick back history is that these haven't been reviewed or looked at since 2007, and we feel an adjustment is warranted at this time. I
Okay.
certainly will stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions by the commission?
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
I believe that it's a good thing to do. The people that are on those boards, both those boards have to do a lot of work, a lot of volunteering, and I think $50 for their compensation and their time plus travel is well worth it. We've got some really good teams on the Weed and Pest and the Planning Commission, and always have. I haven't seen anybody do a bad job on those. And again, I also was on a planning commission before, and you have to do a lot of work and a lot of research. In fact, they are a team before us that we learn a lot from. So I believe it's well worth giving both those teams a $25 to a $50 compensation.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinick.
Holly, thank you for reaching out to the other counties and communities to help us through this. I think the $50 is well supported with what other counties are doing, so appreciate that.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner LaCroix.
I'd make a motion to move to set the compensation rates for the Planning Commission and the Weeds and Pest Boards at $50 per meeting plus mileage effective February 1st, 2021.
Second.
And a second. Comments? Comment I would make is that people serving in these capacities are really serving more as volunteers than they are. Even at $50 does not go very far as their time and stuff is concerned. It's more that they are interested in providing a service to the county, which we appreciate very much. I know that for some of the people that are retired, they're probably happy with what they're receiving, even though they're putting in quite a time commitment. I am always concerned about people that are working that need to take vacation time in order to serve this duty on behalf of the county. So $50 is certainly not out of line. Had I been making the motion, I would have probably made it at a higher rate than that. But, any further comments?
Yeah, we truly can't pay what the real value of,
That's right.
of their service is, so this is just a little something.
All of those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Commissioners.
2021 legislative session. We do have a number of things going on with the legislative session currently. Uh, Bill, this is just the start of their second week, and so we haven't seen anywhere near the number of bills that will be introduced that may have an impact on us. We have a couple that are being worked through the system at the present time that we generated. When I say we, Holly is the one that primarily generated this, catching basically a flaw that's in the law right now, which calls for our commission meetings or any official meetings being held in the courthouse, which is probably the case in 60 of the 66 counties. They still meet in the courthouses. There are a few of us like us, Meade County, Brookings County, Minnehaha County, that meet in administrative buildings. Does not really clarify that our meetings are being held here by statute. So we were trying to work through the legislature this year of getting a slight change to that law, which allows the official meetings to be held in a location other than the courthouse. Helene Duhamel has agreed to carry that bill for us. It's being drafted, probably is already drafted by the South Dakota County Association of County Commissioners in Pierre, and Helene will probably have her hands on that draft sometime this week. A second one that needs to move through, and I would also ask Commissioner Laster to speak on this because I know that he's had phone calls in regard to this too, involves fireworks. We had received some complaints relative to New Year's Eve fireworks being basically held in the county. I received a couple of complaints actually from within the city of the fireworks also. In discussing this and looking at what the statutes and what our ordinance actually says, we discovered that, or we, the state's attorney's office, discovered that there was the law that we depended on for penalties, the state law, was repealed in 2019. Believe that this could have been inadvertent, that they didn't have the knowledge that that penalty carried on to some possible county ordinances and maybe even city ordinances. I don't know about that. So we have, again, I've worked through the County Association of County Commissioners to get a bill drafted to try to correct this. And I've asked Senator Castleberry to carry this bill. She's indicated an interest. She hasn't given me a definitive at this point in time, but that will also be being worked on during the course of this week. Are there other bills, Holly, that you've seen, you've been looking at too, that impact us?
The two that I will mention today is House Bill 1050, which is changes in the legal publications for newspapers. They are proposing a rate increase, so that will definitely affect the county. And then House Bill 1058, which is to authorize the recall of county commissioners. Not that that's a bad thing, but just so you guys are aware that that one's moving its way through as well.
What number was that again?
1058.
Yeah.
I did a little research on this yesterday on 1058 because it caught me by surprise. I was also in contact with several of the board members of the County Commissioners Association. None of them were aware of this coming either. It came from Representative Ernie Otten out of Lincoln County. And I think it involves an issue that they had there last year relative to the vote that the county commission took relative to building a new jail. And if that's the case, if that's what I'm thinking of, this only really impacted one county. My understanding is that initially county commissioners were never established to be under the recall because of the limits that we have relative to the constitutional responsibilities, different than what municipalities are. But I have not actually seen the written language of the bill. I haven't done anything else in regard to it. We do have our board of directors for the state association will be having a meeting tomorrow via Zoom And at that point in time, I would expect that I'm going to learn a lot more relative to this piece of legislation.
There is provision in statute currently for the removal of a commissioner.
Is there? Okay.
For grounds like malfeasance, nonfeasance, gross impartiality, things like that. So there already is a
Who
provision
has the
in
authority
statute.
to do that? Do you know?
What's that?
Who has the authority to, is that a removal because of those?
Yes,
And
yes.
who has the
There's
authority to that?
specifics. I'd have to pull it up.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner
I can
Hancock,
get
you
that
moving the commission
information to you. The proposed language in the new one is by petition of the voters. I believe it's 5% of the voters in the registered district of which that commissioner was elected to, with a statement of the reason why they're seeking removal. And then it goes into the timing of it, whether it's 90 days prior to a primary election, general election, or if a special election has to be held. But basically, that's the bulk of it, is via petition and signatures of the registered voters.
So Chair, we can remove our own, can't we? I thought with the vote of the commission, I thought you could remove a member because of code of ethics and some other stuff, remember?
Yeah,
For ethics?
our ethics and bylaw, our code of conduct.
It's been a while since I've looked at the specific statutes, but I believe there's hearings required and on how it works through the state's attorney's office.
So Chairman,
Commissioner Hadcock?
if I could, are we staying on one subject or can I ask about a couple of things?
Well, let's finish up on the legislative first. I will learn more on this by tomorrow. And I would probably take the position that if there's already provisions for recall or removal of a county commissioner, that we would probably be opposed to any other legislation that would come along in regards to that, especially if it's really just isolated to one county in the state that's had an issue. Commissioner Hancock.
Just a few, the 1023 on the repeal obsolete property tax rules and revised property tax cross-reference and land classification statutes. Is that to do with Shannon?
Yes, the Department of Revenue shared those changes with Director Rittberger earlier this year, and he went through them and helped them work with that. So to my knowledge, that's good to go and no significant changes.
Thank you. And then 1040 has a make appropriation to fund certain small meat processor grants and to declare an emergency. That might be something that Travis Lassiter is looking into.
Already done it.
Thank you. Maybe a little information for the board, kind of what you're looking into a little bit.
So there's a meat processor that's looking to expand. He's already expanded into Rapid City, and they're looking at putting a plant in New Underwood. It's Wall Meats, and so they were already aware of that as well. We made sure we let them know about it, but they were already aware. Gary and I met with their development team. Was it last Friday?
Friday. Mm-hmm.
Last Friday, to kind of get an overview of their plan, and it's really good. One of the things I really liked about it, it's there's no one's doing this now, but there is in our state, we have a South Dakota brand, if you will, for the capability to do meat or products of South Dakota, but no one's using it. They're wanting to bring that back and kind of reinstitute that as well. On top of that, being a major processing plant for our local producers, so our cattlemen in the area and things of that nature. So currently they're maxed out. They're at 200% capacity where they're at. And so to put in a new plant, they can actually start up once the plant goes in, processing about 1,300 head a year from 680 currently. And still gives them an opportunity to grow to about 2,000 head per year of processing. But again, the primary goal is to help our local cattle ranchers to brand their own beef as a South Dakota product and sell it to the local communities, because that's kind of like the big niche right now is everybody wants locally raised, locally grown, and they want that in their restaurants too. So they've done a lot of work on that.
I think it'd be pretty amazing if you could move that forward, and then us as commissioners, anything that we could do, because it's a great economic impact for Pennington County. So anything, I mean, I think it'd be pretty awesome if we can help that move forward, or anything they need to do to help move it forward, which,
And it adds about 24 to 36 jobs into the community.
I agree. Is it, Gary, you guys, remember when we had that presentation a year ago? Isn't there a grant
Yep.
or funding through the governor's office for expansion of this?
Correct.
Yep.
Could be, I mean, that's a possibility
Yeah.
that could be worked also.
And that's
they
what
are,
the-
they are working with the governor's
They
office
are,
also
okay,
on that, so.
great.
so and that's what that bill is, Lloyd, is to make an appropriation to fund certain small meat processors, so that would be pretty awesome for
Yeah, okay.
Travis in that area for his district as well as Pennington County. So SB 25 and 26 is to remove an incorrect cross-reference and provision regarding elections, modify the type of candidates. And then 26, modify the type of candidates with a joint petition, revise and repeal. Do you know what those are, Holly?
I don't. I haven't read those elections bills yet, ma'am.
Okay, and then the repeal the registration requires for certain amusement devices. Amusement like, not amusement parks, but
Amusement rides. There are certain requirements that they have to go through statute every year to have those rides set up and operating safely, and
so they're making that more stringent or they're lenient?
I haven't read that one yet either. I will
Okay.
find that for you.
Only because we had some issues, remember, with one of the amusement parks that we had that, the engineers and some of the stuff wasn't followed, if we remember. And just to make sure that people are safe, want to make sure that is going to be protected, because we do have a lot more amusement.
What bill number is that, ma'am?
SB 39. Because we do have a lot more amusement areas coming into like Pennington County, which we appreciate, but we also want to make sure those are safe for the public and done properly, so. And then SB 52, I think that was the same as revise the permit duration on certain concentrated animal feed operations.
Commissioner Hadcock, I think 39. I think that was dealing with like pool tables and stuff. I think I briefly read it. I don't know. Holly, are you looking that one up?
Yeah, they're amending a definition. Mechanical or electronic amusement device is any coin operated.
Okay,
Pool tables, video games.
okay.
But then they go forth that no political subdivision of the state may require permits, license fees for the operation of any amusement device. So I don't believe that one is the big rides. It's the other category.
Okay.
I think that's being brought by the South Dakota Gaming Commission,
Does
actually.
anybody know SB 71 designate Juneteenth Day as a working holiday, what that is?
So SB 71 is
70 and 71.
the 19th day of June, to be known as Juneteenth Day, shall be observed in the state as a working holiday. Juneteenth is recognized due to the fact that on June 19th, 1865, the slaves in Texas, a geographically remote region of the Confederacy, were officially informed by units of the United States military that the Civil War was over, that slavery in the United States had been abolished, and that the slaves were now free persons.
Thank you. That's all I got. I actually read through all those, but I didn't read the
Further
whole.
questions relative to legislative items?
The only thing I would say is that after our discussions on that House Bill 1040 with the Packens, I'd be open to a letter of support later on. When it comes to that.
So Chair, we have 3 on the Fire Service Board, and I was going to talk about them. Jerome could probably do better at that on compact on psychologists, state pay for mental health, and then the training for PTSD, if you want to say a few words on that, Jerome. Just so you guys know that the Fire Service Board, our directors and our chair and vice chair, and Jerome will be moving forward in peer and lobbying again for some of these areas in need for our Fire Service Board.
Jerome?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of work going on as far as mental health. Pennington County had the first critical incident stress debriefing team and has the oldest one that operates in the state. There's been a lot of work going on in the past year. There was some initiatives brought by Representative Sea-Watch from Yankton last spring during a session concerning workers' compensation. Trying to go that route with it. We did speak at that, but we've never discussed use of county funds on any of this at all. It did get focused on workers' compensation initially, and then it went into a summer study. They formed a task force, and we've testified at all but one of the meetings. And what has come out of that is Representative Milstad is working on 3 bills. I'll get you the bill information. One of them is to allow a compact amongst the states there's not enough professional level, doctorate level psychologists that are comfortable with or familiar with first responder, firefighter, law enforcement issues. And so that allows a bigger pool of people that we can draw upon to help with that level of treatment. The second 2 bills that are up, one concerning doing some grants to help fund some additional stress debriefing teams and provide some training. That's very expensive training to bring in, and the state definitely needs the help on that. The last bill concerns an actual, currently under the pool, we have access to what the pool provides for us. That's a couple items that we can use, and we've got that out to all of our people. But there's an initiative and a bill there to actually use state money and as an incentive also to keep our people involved statewide in this volunteer service and in the fire service and law enforcement, et cetera, in general, is their actual insurance policy to help them with that for long term. A lot of focus has been on the short term game with them. And we do a lot here to diffuse things, hopefully in the short term, but it's that long-term issues that are being better recognized and actually allow some funding for those people to help with the long-term issues. So I'll get you the bill numbers. I didn't have the bill numbers, but I'll get that information to you and understand a little more.
Okay, thanks, Jerome.
Thank you, Jerome.
Okay. Anything else relative to legislative session, bills, so forth? As I say, we're early in the process. We'll be 2 weeks from now, we'll have probably considerable more information as to what is taking place. So
Do we have a Cracker Barrel coming up?
I don't think the first Cracker Barrel here is until the 30th, I believe, is what I had read.
Okay.
I think there's one in Hill City prior to that.
Sure.
Maybe the week before. I don't remember what the date was on that, but okay. I don't think we need any motion relative to that information. So items from the chair, commission members. This is a time for individual members to bring forth ideas or concerns to the full board. Official action will not be taken on any items brought forth at this time. Direction may be given to bring items back before the board for consideration. I would go to Commissioner Lassiter on this. I think that you probably have maybe a follow-up to what we talked about that's taking place on the fireworks for legislative. To me, that's the first process now we have to go to since we found out that the penalty had been repealed. But I know that you had received a complaint or complaints relative to the fireworks too, and I think it's anticipated that we would have a discussion relative to that. So.
Yep. Actually, I'm meeting with Sheriff Tome and Jerome on Friday, so I'll have more information come Friday. That's when we set up the meeting, so I haven't had a lot of visitation with them yet, but I have been called by the same individual, still asking some questions and still trying to follow up on that. I let them know where we were at, and I told her I'd get in contact with them after I had the meeting, so I could let that individual know where we were at from the law enforcement and fire department side.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else relative to that? I think that, the complaints that I got was the relative to the time element that was allowed for it, because they were still, in my neighborhood, they were still shooting off fireworks 24 hours after the New Year started, which was, was literally at midnight.
Yeah.
So the timetable was not too great for people that were either trying to sleep or very close to those. And And I know that we had some out in the valley, that same kind of instance. I think part of the concern is not only when and where, but the the amount of noise that went along with it, which I presume is some with pretty heavy powder that are making some of those. So anyway, that discussion will be continually be held. Is there anything else from commission members in regard to other areas?
So Chairman, on the fireworks, if they, so we have designated times for the fireworks, but if they're shooting it off any time of the year, is there a penalty for that?
Well, that's the penalty
That they're
that
talking
disappeared. That's the
Okay.
one that was repealed in 2019. That's what our ordinance relies on. And Cullen, you help me out if I'm wrong on this, but our ordinance references that statute. That's what gives me the penalty authority, and that's the one that was actually repealed.
It's 22.
Cullen.
Yes, Commissioner Drews, I believe that's correct. And I believe the legislative fix is going to be a lot better than trying to link everything back through, because I think that we legally still can impose a penalty. It's just playing connect the dots. It gets a little bit attenuated. So the legislative fix will be nice, because I think, as Commissioner Drews noted, when we first spoke about this earlier, that it was probably inadvertent. I believe Commissioner Roskinek, when he was sitting on the Planning Commission in December, when Representative Mullally was here, mentioned that the legislature doesn't always do the best job. And sometimes they miss the cross references, like I'm sure we do in our ordinances, and sometimes that screws things up. But I think you're correct, Commissioner Drews.
Okay, thank you.
So it does, it's going to make some kind of penalty, is what you're
Right,
trying to move
it'll
forward with?
reestablish what was the original penalties to,
Okay.
Okay, and
if you didn't follow the county ordinance.
so what penalty was a misdemeanor, which was how much if you,
So I believe it was a Class 1 misdemeanor, which is punishable by 1 year in the county jail, a $2,000 fine, or both. But with the repeal, what we've determined is that the maximum punishment would be equivalent to a Class 2 misdemeanor, which is 30 days in the county jail, a $500 fine, or both.
and the main thing that, and who's mostly going to be doing this is kids. So is that, maybe that's why they repealed it, because you're not going to put kids in jail for 30 days, you might find their parents.
I'm not sure that's true. I think most of this is taking place by, maybe being done on behalf of their kids, but I think it's being done by adults.
Sure.
Commissioner LaCroix.
Just saying.
I guess I'm trying to, this is all about the penalty right now. I'm just thinking back 3 years ago, when a lot of the complaints that we were getting on the commission was the amount. Remember, I don't think we focused so much on the penalty back then. It was, we had residents that just absolutely didn't want none shut off out in Rapid Valley, and with the city limits. And I know me and Deb had worked with not only Jerome, but also the city fire department, had them all involved, and then city leadership, when we all had a meeting trying to come up with something. And we had people had ideas of, we should open up the fairgrounds and they should have a place down there that a designated space, too much liability, too much, a lot of different stuff. So just giving you guys a little heads up. I like this legislative. I think we need to have those penalties, and then I'd like to see the legislatures go forward with it. And I don't remember all the details with the legislation. I mean, we're talking 3 years ago, but yeah, I'm very interested in seeing what you guys come up with, if there's anything different. But at least you got Jerome in there, and Tom and them guys. Those guys were involved in those talks way back then too. So maybe they can catch you up on what we talked about back then.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroix. Anything else relative to items from the commission members? Let's go to committee reports then. Travis, we'll start with you. You got a long list behind your name.
I know there's a long list by name. The good thing is some of those individuals came up here and gave presentations today, and so I would just echo what they've said whenever they came up here. So Ron Jeffries gave the overview for this Central States Fair Board. One of the things I was going to point out, which he also pointed out, is pretty much every single day is booked out except for 2 weekends, and that's August 3rd weekend and Christmas. So I just want to point that out, even though he pointed out there. But everything else he talked about, most of it was stuff that I was going to point out. They're working really hard, and of course, they're wanting individuals to help out with some of these events. They could utilize some help with people who would like to volunteer at some of these events. I got volunteered for a couple of things, so I'll be out there, which is good. The Elevate and Chamber meeting that I was on the teleconference with. The biggest takeaway from that meeting is they were discussing how to move forward. It looks like the Chamber and Elevate are going to be merging their boards. So they made a motion on the adjustment of their bylaws and things of that nature. So once that gets seen and either approved by the Chamber of Commerce or edited, then we'll know the final. So it was very possible that could have been the last meeting, but we won't know until the Chamber of Commerce agrees or approves. The EMUB, the couple of things from the EMUB meeting was that they're seeing CARES Act reimbursements come through, and they'll be working with the city finance and county auditor to make sure all the reimbursements balance out based on their budget. Local Emergency Management Performance Grant, they were awarded some additional special project monies for 2020 projects. And then the State Homeland Security Program, the application window's open that they're applying for now. And kind of interesting thing, I think, at least from my perspective as a guy who was in EMS, they have a remote broadband access system that's field deployable nearing completion. It's basically a little box that they've got that they can take out to an area where there's no cell reception. If I understand the way he told me about this, it tries to find different bands to get onto, and if it can't, then it switches over to the satellite phone so that they can have communications in an area where there's no communications. So I thought that was pretty neat that they're working on that. And then our chair is Jason Culberson. They voted him in, and the vice chair is Gary Sortland. And then the ESCC, the financials are looking good. In fact, the only major takeaway from that, well, there's two takeaways. One, we talked about it today when Ted was up here about early paying off that lease, which saves the county about $70,000, which is awesome. And then they're going to be working on the communication issues that are up in the Quinn area. Basically, they're doing a coverage study out there, and then once they get that coverage study done, they'll be coming back with a plan of action on how do we make sure our EMS guys can communicate when they're out in those no communication areas. Outside of that, I think that's everything.
Okay.
Unless there's any specific questions.
Any questions of Commissioner Laster? Commissioner LaCroix?
I didn't have any scheduled ones, but I will give an update. I did attend the youth city council. They swore in their 5 new members and elected their new vice president and president of that. And I have to say, Malcolm Chapman and Mayor Allender gave great, not speeches, but presentations on the Constitution and so forth to the young people. And so that was very good. The only other thing I got to report on is the NFAB Forest Board meeting. We're still in limbo with everything that's going on. They haven't appointed the new members, and even the charter hasn't been approved by the secretary yet. But that's not uncommon for it. There's only 2 charters in the United States, and we're one of them. With all the stuff going on, it's always been this way. So that's been delayed. So they've delayed those meetings. I was supposed to have some of you may not know that I got appointed to the new HR Human Relations Commission from the city. And our first meeting is going to be with Mr. Chapman Monday. So I think me and you, Travis, got meetings at 5:30 with 4-H, but I'll be able to swing in between those two. But and that'll be a first meeting. I can give a report of how that works out for us all. This is something new for our community. So with that, I'm just holding my own.
Thank you. Commissioner Roskinek.
The only meeting I can report on would be a Zoom meeting with the building committee, and some of the items that we took in that day is the evidence center that we got over here. The floor is heaving in that from fatty soil types, and this has been ongoing for about 12 months, and I think Mike's just looking at some long-term solutions that could keep it from getting any worse, and possibly I'm guessing what they're talking about doing is drilling a hole and put a sump pump in there and trying to get some of that moisture out of that. We've talked a little bit about the proposed mental health facility that would go adjacent to the CARE campus, and some of the steps that we're going to have to take along the way to make that happen. That sounds like it's going to be pretty much a state-funded operation, possibly operated by behavior management, but that's going to put a lot on Mike as far as being the head of a director of building and grounds. We just touched base a little bit on the possible repurposing of the Lamplighter property until such time that we feel that it's necessary to raise the improvements. Looking at there's still some utility in that property, and it's a lot better having it utilized for some positive purpose than sitting there empty and attracting folks that we don't really want to be on that property. One of the things that they discussed, and it seemed like everybody's pretty serious about that, and that's doing a study on the future needs of the county complex. Where are we going to be in 10 to 15 years? And I think everybody's wanting to be more proactive than reactive. What are the needs of the different departments? And it sounded to me, I don't know that there's an approval for that study, but I think that study is going to become reality here in the next few months. And let's see, we briefly talked about the safety building that Kevin and Thome is in there. Is that the building, Gary, that they're talking about redoing the entrance into that building, right, to make it a little bit safer? So that's an ongoing project for building and grounds. That's all I really have.
Thank you. Commissioner Hadcock.
Didn't we just redo this public safety, the frontage on it?
That was the courthouse, but there is a new ramp, but that was quite a few.
No public safety too, right, Holly? I thought we revamped.
Changes with COVID but not remodel.
There was no changes in the entrance there. That's what they're talking about doing now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, one thing I forgot is that we still have the issue with the infrastructure at the jail. We know that infrastructure's got limited life expectancy, and we're doing a study on that too to find out what the cheapest and fastest way to cure that aging infrastructure.
Thank you, Ron.
Commissioner Hadcock.
So I went to the Fire Service Board. We do have a new chair. It's Caleb Dustman, and then Charles Maud is the vice chair, two younger guys. We were pretty happy that they stepped up. Cliff McClure did an amazing job as being our chief, our chair, but he's going to be gone and going to different states and different areas, learning more on structures and everything else. So Cliff works very hard, but Caleb and Charles were on our budget committee, and you had met them then last year. They work very hard, and they both are great volunteers because they both, as we already know, they're volunteering and they have other jobs, so they're pretty busy, but they're willing to step up. Emergency management talked about the BRIC grants that Travis was talking about that they're looking at. 3 bills that Jerome talked about, and then we talked about the fireworks. They're having their midwinter muster from the 8th through the 14th. Those are classes for fire. A lot of EMT classes for updating. And again, we already know they're volunteers, but they also have to go to classes in order to be a fireman, a volunteer, or EMS. So, besides their other jobs. So, these guys keep pretty busy. I'm pretty proud of this group. They did talk, Dustin talked about no news on the distribution after December 31st for this year for getting more COVID money, but he would keep us updated. Dustin is always great to be there, talking about the different things that they do in EMS. Travis keeps up to date now because he goes to the meetings, but it's nice to have Dustin there as well. He talked about the radios already. A lot of that stuff has been on the agenda. And Gail Schmidt is in the Fire Chiefs Association. She is the head of the Fire Chief Association, I should say. She does a really good job at keeping everybody in line in a good way, and then moves grants and different things forwards as well with Jerome and their team of people. So those fire chiefs meetings are important to keep everybody up to date. And we already know there's been a lot of fires in the last few years. So these guys have been there. City and county work amazingly well together through all the counties, Meade, Lawrence, all of them that work with our fire service board. So we forget sometimes that they don't only work in Pennington County, they share services and share people in order to fight those fires. And it's pretty amazing when you're EMT or first responders, how well they all work together when they need each other. So it's pretty cool to watch. So anyway, great board and appreciate them.
Thank you, Commissioner Hadcock. A couple of things, just to add on to, just because I happen to know it. The fire that was up by Lemon, the grass fire, consumed about 20,000 acres. 22 volunteer fire departments respond to that from South and North Dakota. They helped work that fire to get it out. And with that wind blowing, I was absolutely amazed they got that thing controlled as fast as they did, because that wind was something else. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about was, first of all, under the new, and we'll go back to this on the liaison assignments, but I am part of the military advisory coalition at this point in time. And so I chose to, they've reorganized that whole thing, and they've created some pillars for specific things. And so I have chose to be a part of the defense economy pillar, which Cheryl Chapman is the chairman of that. We had our first meeting last week. It was a Zoom meeting. We had 20 participants involved in that. Cheryl did a nice job in handling that. This is all about relationships with the military, education and building and opportunities for business growth, entrepreneurship, research and development, and workforce development related to the defense industry. And we know that with the upcoming B-21, that's going to be a lot of activity around the Ellsworth and Box Elder area in regard to this, and that's all going to spill over into a lot more of Pennington County, Meade County, et cetera, too. So there's going to need to be a lot of planning during the course of the next few months and years in order to accommodate everything that's going to be necessary for there.
So, Chair, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Commissioner Hadcock.
Have you guys looked in just to the infrastructure needs in Box Elder in order to expand, or rely on building and doing the things that you guys need to do? I never thought about that. I did a little bit, but seeing what I saw the other day, which was pretty amazing, all the housing units and all the things going up, just wondering if you guys ever talk about the infrastructure needs.
That was the first meeting that I participated in. That was not part of the discussion, but infrastructure was mentioned. We didn't go into any depth on it at this point in time. That was kind of an organizational meeting. We'll be meeting monthly in regard to that, so I'm sure that will be part of the early discussions here.
I would encourage you to move that forward before they expand, before they have that infrastructure in order to support it. And it'd be helpful for the expansion of Box Elder and doing it correctly. It's a good way to put it. It's good to do it before than after. It costs you a lot more money.
Yeah.
So,
that's
yes,
true.
sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Adcock. The other thing that I did do is I have expressed an interest in being more personally involved in the attempt to bring Missouri River water to the western South Dakota. And so I've made contact with the School of Mines. A number of engineers have been working on this. And then Cheryl Chapman, again, Banner Associates, was contracted to do some work on this. So I have met with Cheryl on this, kind of bring me up to speed as to where everything is at on that. And I'm going to be pushing hard on that. This is going to be a long time process, but at the same time, as I look at the future of our area in western South Dakota, the need for additional good quality and quantity of water is going to be a real necessity. May not be 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but it will be in the future. And this is going to be a time-consuming thing to get it accomplished. I think most of the Minnewachuny pipeline that was brought on board a number of years ago, that's almost running at capacity. So it's not an avenue of being able to tap into that line to be able to create more water. You're talking about an entire new line that would have to be laid in order to do this. And you're talking lots of dollars in order to get it accomplished. So we need to work with the federal government, with our congressional delegation and stuff, in the planning process of moving forward on this. So I'm impressed with how much groundwork has been laid by some very knowledgeable individuals. So I look forward to working on that also.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
So we can't tap into that, for a while, I think they said that ended at Wall, and I thought there might be that possibility. One of the problems that when you lay that line, you have to have right of way. I mean, the legality part of it could be just as much as the physical part. So I wondered if we can eventually get that pipeline here, if we could run it parallel to the existing one in some kind of a right of way.
You may be talking about, depends on who's interested in having that water. Last week I was doing some traveling and I was in Dewey County. Dewey County being seat of that is Timberlake. They don't have access to the water that Perkins County, Lemon has. That line comes out of North Dakota, so they have some access there. Then you get over to Buffalo County, they don't have access again. And so you have a lot of western South Dakota that would probably need to be tied in on this.
I see.
So the main line may come out. I don't have no idea on design, but I can foresee where a main line could be coming out and you'd have a lot of offshoots going to various areas of western South Dakota.
Maybe using those old railroad right-of-ways might be something for them to look at.
Could be too.
Yes,
So, anything else? Commissioner LaCroix, you always have one more. No?
I'm good today.
Yeah, she's good. Okay. Okay. So, nothing needs to have action taken care of there. The one thing I skipped was 24A, and that's actually the assignments for the board. And I presume each of you received your copy of that.
Lloyd said he'd like more committees.
You liked what?
Lloyd said he'd take more.
Oh, okay.
I'll take on the
Travis-
detox board.
Travis is cheaper, so we can give him more.
So as you can see, as this is laid out, I mean, everybody's going to have a busy schedule with other assignments. And I think most of you were aware, so you've already, any meetings that took place between the start of the year and now, most of you have already been a part of those that you're assigned to. So any questions on it?
Just one comment is I really appreciate Joan and Holly keeping us organized as far as letting us know when our meetings are and the emails and so forth. That's amazingly helpful, and I know anytime I've needed to add something, they've added them on to our schedule, and it helps me plan out the future. So I appreciate you guys' work for us on that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner LaCroix. I don't see any other business. Any items from the public? Seeing none?
Item 25.
Oh, want to do vouchers, huh? Looks to me like we've got,
Looks like a lot of abstaining going
yeah,
on.
looks like some abstaining here. I've got the first one where I understand that Commissioner Lassiter needs to abstain from. Do I have a motion to approve the voucher in the amount of $157.92 to Weldon Travis Lassiter?
So
And
moved.
this is relative to planning commission meetings.
So moved.
For approval.
I've got a motion by Hadcock, a second by LaCroy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, one abstention, Commissioner Lassiter. Motion 2 would be to move to approve the vouchers in the amount of $800 to Price LLC and $740 to the Rose Inn LLC. Commissioner Hadcock will be abstaining from this vote.
Move to approve.
I got a motion by Commissioner Lassiter
Second.
and a second by Commissioner LaCroy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Commissioner Hadcock abstaining. And then we get to the third one, which everybody gets the opportunity to vote on. I need a motion to approve the remaining vouchers totaling $3,271,792.46.
So moved.
I've got a motion by Adcock, a second by LaCroy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinick.
I wanted to mention that I did attend Linda Peterson's retirement party, which was here a week and a half ago. Linda'd been with, I mean, as long as I've been appraising real estate and going to the Director of Equalization's office for information, Linda's been there, and she's just going to be dearly missed. They're losing about 32 years of experience, but she had looked like a very well put together retirement party, so I just wanted to mention that.
I'll second that. I got the tail end of that party.
Went before I had to work, so.
I did too. In
What?
fact, I'm very jealous of her husband there, where they're relocating Arizona. There's, I think he said within a 25-mile area, there's 25 dirt tracks, race tracks in the
Wow.
area. And I love that kind of racing, so.
Do they have a lot of mag water on that dust out there? Just checking.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.